All of the dimensions we create in our drawing will conform to a dimension style. A dimension style is very similar to a text style in that it controls the appearance of our dimensions. In fact, text styles and dimension styles work the same way. Just like a change to your text style will modify your existing text, a change to your dimension style will modify your existing dimensions. Let's take a look at dimension styles. I'm going to come up and click my Open icon, and we're going to go into the Chapter 12 folder located within our Exercise Files directory. And I'd like to open up drawing number 2, the Dimension Styles drawing. So we'll highlight that guy and click Open. Now on my screen, I've got a mechanical example. This is a representation of a 1990s video game controller. Now I do have several dimensions. I certainly don't have enough dimensions to reproduce this part, but we do have enough dimensions to play around with the concept of dimension styles. The first thing I want to mention is that every dimension that you see was created using the default settings. So let's make some changes. If I'd like to change my dimension style, I'm going to come up to the dimension style icon and click. This will bring up my dimension style manager. From here, I can select from any existing dimension style that happens to be defined in my drawing. Currently, I only have standard. The standard dimension style is similar to the standard text style in that every drawing will have a standard dimension style. So all of these dimensions were put in using this style, so we'll make sure he's highlighted, and we'll come over and click Modify. And this brings up my Modify Dimension Style dialog. From here, I have 7 tabs of settings that control how my dimensions look. Now, we're certainly not going to go through all of these settings. We're going to go through a few of them to give you an idea of how they work, but I am going to show you how you can find out what each setting does on your own. The first way is to come up to your little question mark button and click. Remember, this is your help feature. If I click this guy, AutoCAD puts the question mark on my cursor, and I can take him to whatever setting I wish and click, and AutoCAD will tell me everything I need to know about that setting. That's one way to learn what the settings do. Let me hit Escape to clear the help text. I'm going to jump to my Lines tab for a second. Another way we can learn what the settings do is to keep an eye on the preview window. More often than not, when we change a setting, we'll see the change reflected in the preview window. For instance, I'm going to check the box to suppress dimension line 1. And when I do, watch the preview. Notice the dimension line's gone. Now we know what that button does. Let me click again to bring the dimension line back. I'm going to come down and let's suppress an extension line. Let me put a check in this box to suppress the extension line 1. All right, now we know what that setting does. Let me click again to turn that back on. Notice the settings on the tabs are grouped under major headings. That can be very helpful. At least it makes it appear a little less overwhelming when we look at the number of settings. Let's make a change. The first change I'd like to make is the number of spaces to the right of the decimal. If we look at what we can see in model space, I can see that all of my dimensions are to 4 decimal spaces. I'd like to change this. So I'm going to go to my Primary Units tab and click. These are the settings that control my units. Right now I can see in the precision area that it is set to 4 decimal spaces. Let me click the drop down and I'm going to set this to 2. Now that I've made a change, let's return to the drawing. I'm going to click OK to dismiss the dialog box. Now I'm going to slide my Dimension Style Manager to the side, and when I click Close, watch my dimensions. Since all of the dimensions are entered via a style, a change in the style updates all my dimensions, so now they're all 2 decimal spaces. Let's make another change. I'm going to go back up and click the Dimension Style icon again. Once again, my current dimension style is highlighted, so I'm going to click Modify. Since we're on the Primary Units tab, let's take a look at Unit Format. Currently, everything is dimensioned using decimal units. If you're an architect, you'll want to click the drop-down and set this to Architectural. If it's set to Architectural, your dimensions will be 2 fractional units. Now I'm going to put it back to decimal. Let's jump to the Text tab. The Text tab has settings that allow me to control the way my text looks. The very first setting that I have is Text Style. Notice that I can select a text style for my dimensions if I wish. I could click the drop down here and I could select from a different style if I had one. Or if I click the ellipsis button, I can create a new style or modify this existing one. Let's make a change to the standard text style. I'm going to change the font to Arial. So let me click the drop down. We'll move up and I will set this to Arial. Let me click to make the change. We'll click Apply, and we'll click Close. Notice the preview window changes. I want to make one more change on this tab, and that's the text height. Now the value that I have here should represent the height that I want my text to appear when printed on paper. That's very important. Any size dimension that we make in our dimension style dialog should represent the size that we would like our dimension to appear when printed on paper. So 0.18 is pretty tall. I'm going to change this to 0.125. Let me click OK. Let's move the Dimension Style Manager over so we can watch the magic happen. Let me click Close. Notice my dimensions have changed. I want to make one last change because these arrowheads are quite large. Let's fix them. I'm going to come up to my Dimension Style button and click. We'll select Modify. And I'm going to go to my Symbols and Arrows tab. Let me click this tab. And if I come right down here under my Arrowheads group, I have a setting for arrow size. Now remember, this is a size setting, so I want to set this to the size I want my arrows to be when they're plotted. I'm going to set this to 0.12. Once again, we'll click OK. We'll move the dialog so we can see it happen, so we can see the change happen, and we'll click Close. Dimension styles give us the same flexibility as a text style. If we need to make global changes to the appearance of our dimensions, we can simply modify our dimension style and all of our dimensions will update automatically.